Hello everyone, and welcome to the Anatomy of Knitting, episode, oh goodness, 33. I had to think about that for a second. In this episode, I'll give a little bit of thanks. I'll talk about what's been on and off the needles. I'll talk about my experience yesterday at the Madrona Fiber Arts Festival, and I'll do a little stash enhancement. So, let's get started. So, I've got my trusty show notes here. I wrote them all out this week instead of last week having them on the computer. I thought having to look over there was a little distracting, so I decided to have them written down and right here, nice and handy. This week I'd like to give a little bit of thanks. I got 3 new iTunes reviews between now and the last podcast, and I'd like to thank Janet Claire, Bianca B, and Xanthi, sorry, for their iTunes reviews. I think they were all 5-star reviews, and so I'd really like to thank you all for those reviews. When listeners review podcasters on iTunes, it helps for those shows to pop up more readily for when new people search for knitting shows. So I'd really like to thank you all. And then I'd also like to thank everybody who participated in the episode 32 thread in the Ravelry group. I've been getting a lot of really good comments about the show and about how you all have liked the transition to the video podcast. Apparently Scout likes it too. I don't know if you heard her meow just then. And so I'd really like to thank you all from the bottom of my heart, because I know a lot of people have some pretty strong opinions about audio versus video, and I've been thinking about making this transition for a while. When I bought this flip camera for the Oregon Flock and Fiber Festival, when I created the video, I thought it's more impactful when I show you video of the festivals that I go to rather than just the audio portion of it. Because like I explained to a couple of people I spoke to at Madrona yesterday, I feel like I never was really able to describe things like in the way I really wanted to. I could only just kind of describe it like halfway, and I think with the video you all will now be able to see it a little bit better. So I'm glad everybody's enjoying it, and then please, this is a big learning process. I know I didn't do everything right with the first podcast, like when I showed you all the little stitch markers. I didn't realize that the flip, I think it only has like a certain area, like right here, where it will stay in focus. I thought that the flip would, like if I held something a lot closer, I thought you all would be able to see it in focus. I thought it would refocus, but it seems like it only has a certain focal length that it can focus on. So, learning process. I expect that there will be a little bumps in the road for this podcast as well, and I just thank you all for your patience while I figure out equipment and editing and just making this video podcast the best it can be. So I'd really like to thank you all for your patience, and let's get on with the knitting content. So I had to take a little bit of a break between the last segment and this one. I apparently had stopped halfway in the row last night before I went to bed. So I had about this many stitches to knit on the Dark and Stormy cardigan, so I could show it to you. So, this is the Dark and Stormy cardigan. This is the sweater that I'm knitting out of Stonehenge Fiber Mill Shepherd's Wool in purple. It's a very descriptive colorway. You all will remember that the last time I showed you this, I was working on the short rows here. Well, I finished those, and I was able to continue on with the button band. see, I'll show you there. So up till yesterday, I had only done the 1.5 inch of the 1x1 ribbing that I needed to do, because and I don't remember exactly where I heard this. I think it was from Chrissy the Great, who did the Manic Pearl podcast. I think she's the one I learned this from, but what she liked to do was she would knit her button band up to the point where she found some buttons, and then once she had buttons she knew she was using, she would then do the buttonholes. That way you can customize your buttonholes for the buttons that you get, because say you follow the pattern and it's I don't know, maybe a 5-stitch buttonhole, but you find these buttons that will be really awesome and work really well with the sweater, but they won't fit into your 5-stitch buttonholes. So I wanted to wait until I actually found some really nice buttons that I could use for the cardigan before I knit my buttonholes. My husband and I ended up going to Vancouver, Washington last weekend, and because my parents needed help moving some stuff, and he and I are, young whippersnappers. So we were able to do all the heavy lifting because my dad had hurt his back and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I had been planning to go to the Button Emporium, which is located in Portland, Oregon, which is not too far from where my parents live. However, my husband's work schedule has changed recently, and he now works on Saturdays. So we ended up going down Saturday night, and I thought that I could go to the Button Emporium either Sunday during the day or on Monday. But when we were, I don't know, a couple of miles away from pulling into my parents' house, I decided to look on the internet to see exactly when we could go. And lo and behold, the 2 days of the week that the Button Emporium are closed are the 2 days that I was going to be in Vancouver. So I decided that I wouldn't get my buttons at the Button Emporium, and so I was sort of in this kind of location of what, I could go to Joann's, but their button selection isn't the best, and I wanted to find some really nice buttons because this is a really nice cardigan, I'm spending a decent amount of money for the yarn to make these sweaters. Why would I use buttons that I don't really love? So that's my philosophy with finding buttons for a cardigan. So when I went to Madrona yesterday, I actually found some buttons that will work. So I will show them to you. I got 5 buttons, and they're these enamel. Let's see, I want to make sure that you can see these appropriately. It's so I have this feeling like I should just put it way towards the camera, but I have to remember to stay back. So I got these big enamel buttons. They're about 1.5 inches large, and they're like this green, like seafoamy green maybe enamel, and I think it looks really good with the purple of the sweater. So I found those yesterday. So when I got home from Madrona, I decided to knit my buttonholes, and I used the Button Wizard. And a caveat, my last audio podcast, I talked about the Button Wizard and how it's a really amazing app that I found on that I found in the App Store for my phone. When I was in Madrona yesterday, I'm going to have all these little when I was in Madrona stories for this podcast. I met up with Christine of the Yarnings podcast, and one of her friends that she brought up with her from Vancouver, she had just gotten an iPhone, and she wanted to know all of the really cool apps that you could get for knitting, and because I've had an iPhone since the original iPhone, I've had plenty of practice to find some good apps, especially some good knitting apps. And so when I told her about the Button Wizard and how this is the one knitting app that I've used the most in, say, the last month or so, she went onto the App Store and wasn't able to find it. And I know that when I recorded my last audio podcast, which I think was in the end of January, while I was recording on air, I looked through the App Store and was able to find it, and I told people exactly what to use, what words to search for in the App Store, so the Button Wizard would be the first option to pop up. But when we went to lunch yesterday, and I was telling her friend about all the cool apps that I had and what to look for in the App Store, we weren't able to find the Button Wizard for the iPhone. Apparently, whoever authored the app has only decided to offer it in the iPad version, and I think that really sucks because, well, I can kind of show you the app. Let me get back to my home page. So I have with the iPhone, you can organize all of your apps into different, they're not exactly folders, but I'm going to call them folders, and so I have a knitting folder, and one of them is the Button Wizard, and so it's this calculator. I'm hoping I can see sort of a little reflection in the lens, and it looks like you're not getting a glare, so you have this calculator here, and you choose the button direction, you choose what kind of buttonhole type that you want, and then there's different the calculator that you use. So you punch in the number of buttonholes you want, the number of stitches on the needle, the buttonhole stitches, how many stitches you want before the first buttonhole, and how many stitches you want after the last buttonhole. And then once you hit calc, it comes up with these text directions. This doesn't seem to be something that would only work on the iPad. So I think that's kind of, I'd like to use a couple of four-letter words of how I really think about this, but because this is a clean podcast, I think it's a bad business decision. So that's the Buttonhole Wizard. So because it's still on my phone, I was able to use it yesterday when I made my buttonholes. So what I did is I put on the sweater, and it tells you to, in the sweater directions, it tells you to find where your bust is the widest and then place the first buttonhole there. So I did that, and I was able to evenly space my 5 buttonholes. And then I always like to check and make sure that when I, oh, apparently Scout sees birds. When I do the buttonholes, I always like to check and make sure that my button actually goes through it. Not that it's so big that the button will like easily slide through. I like to make sure that there's a little bit of tension when you put it through, so it stays closed. So those are the buttonholes, and then I've continued maybe about a ½ inch past the buttonhole, and so I have another inch left to go of the button band. And I'll probably do what I did with the cuffs and do a tubular bind off for that. So because the 4 rows take maybe about a ½ inch, I'll probably go another ½ inch to get an inch of ribbing past the buttonhole, and then I'll do the prep rows for the tubular bind off. So that's that. Again, I'll show you the pretty side because I think it's really pretty. The cable part on the back. And so that's the Dark and Stormy cardigan. I'm knitting this on US 7s using the Stonehenge Fiber Mill Shepherd's Wool in purple. This is a design, I don't think I mentioned this earlier, by Thea Coleman. And I think it's a really good sweater. The directions are clear, and I'm really enjoying it. So that's that one. And then I'm going to put my buttons away. And the enamel is kind of loud. So those are that. The next thing is something I started yesterday, right before I went to Madrona. I started the Multnomah shawl, and apparently I finished this one, or I stopped halfway in a row. It is a design by Kate Ray. I'm knitting this on US 3s. These are Addi Turbos, and it's Shalimar yarns, and I'm using their their Breathless base, which is merino, cashmere, and silk, and this is the blue raspberry colorway. So what you do is you cast on so many stitches up here at the top. You do a couple of prep rows, and then on one side one side you increase at the edges, and then the next side you increase it at the edges plus the yarn over in the middle. And so I'm doing the body of the shawl. I have to get to, I think, over 200 and something stitches. I'm currently like at about 180 or so. And I did all of this bit of knitting yesterday. I am using my little hummers from a Stitch Markers, which I think goes really well with the blue yarn. And this is a really comfy, I mean, it's just a nice, soft base. I bought this yarn when I went to Florida in December, this past December. I took a trip there with my husband to kind of show him the area. I'm from Florida, and so this was a yarn store in Tampa, which the name is escaping me at the moment, but I'll put the details at the bottom of the screen. People seem to you all seem to like that information at the bottom, and I know last week I was telling you the links for the websites for the Etsy stores, and I was spelling them out. I'm not going to do that again. I'm just going to say, I'm just going to say that I bought it from so-and-so's Etsy store, and then I'll just put all the information at the bottom. Let's see, what else can I say about this? This is my first Multnomah. For those of you who aren't familiar with the source of the name, Multnomah Falls is a waterfall that's located in the Oregon area. So I personally haven't seen Multnomah Falls. I know that my husband's really gung-ho about showing me them. So that's probably in the plans to happen this summer. So I figured a nice blue colored Multnomah shawl would be really pretty, so it'll be like flowy water. And then for those of you who aren't familiar with what it looks like, there's a big picture, and then there's no so it's a garter stitch shawl, and then it's got feather and fan on the edges. There we go. I can see the reflection in my computer. So hopefully you could see that pretty well. And so I'm pretty excited to see how that's going to go. So those are the active things that I have on the needles now. I had a couple of things on my show notes, but those are a couple of days old, and I actually finished a few things this week. So we'll move on to the next segment. So now what's off the needles? The first thing, you're probably curious about what I'm wearing. This is the Caritas shawl. It is a design from Christine from the Yarnings podcast. I knit this out of Hazelknit's Artisan Sock Yarn, and I've blanked on the yarn colors, and I meant to do this before I actually started recording. Let me pull it up quickly. Yes, this is Caritas by Christine Beeson. Let me move my hair out of the way. So 3 colors of sock yarn, and I used Hazelknit's Artisan Sock. The blue is the Splish Splash colorway. The green is Shanty Pants, and the gray is the Nickel colorway. And this uses a total of 3 skeins of sock yarn. You'll see that the stripes end up being a lot thinner up here, and then there's a section where they're more moderately sized, like from here to here-ish, and then at the bottom they're a lot bigger. and then they get kind of small at the end. I ended up doing an extra repeat of each color here. The original directions have these taken out. So I ended up making it slightly bigger, and then I ended up running out of yarn at the bottom to do the extra smaller rows at the bottom. So I would recommend the Hazelknit sock yarn is a 400 yard skein. So if you have something that's 400 yards or smaller, I wouldn't recommend doing the extra repeat there. I would do it as written. And then I also made a mistake when I did the knitting of the project. When you have the increases on these spokes here, and I sort of didn't notice in the chart for some reason that you're supposed to keep these, they're these garter ridges where you do the color changes, so it kind of hides the color change, and I think it's a really attractive way to do the color changes. And you're supposed to continue those little bits in the stockinette stitch, and apparently, I don't know why, I just didn't see it. So mine has the garter all the way across, which I personally really like. But I might knit this again. I've got a plethora of sock yarn, so I could do probably 2 or 3 more of these. Yeah, this is a really nice shawl. It's like a big blanket. I love it. And I was gonna try and let me see if I can. Here we go, a little DPN. I'll just kind of close it off here. I don't have any shawl pins for some strange reason. So this is one way that you could wear it. So that's this one that I've been wearing during the podcast. But then you'll notice that on the needles section, I did not have my Zombie Apocalypse cowl because it is finished. You'll see the cool drop stitches here. And I'll even, oh goodness, apparently my cat just fell down. You okay, honey? Yeah, she's fine. Okay. Yep, the Zombie Apocalypse cowl. I'm going to take off my glasses for a moment. So, it did block out to be a skosh bigger than it was when I was knitting it. This is knit out of Step Dye Works, MCN DK, which is merino cashmere nylon. I believe it's 80-10-10 are the percentages. Let's see, this is the Zombie Apocalypse colorway, which when I saw it at Sock Summit, I think I lolled. Because it was just, it's like the perfect colorway for a Zombie Apocalypse cowl. I knit this using US 7s, and I had a total of 12 inches of yarn left. When I was doing the bind off, I had knit everything in the round, and I had my edge down here that was showed where the beginning of the round is, and I knit in magic loop. And so I had done a whole extra round, and then I was binding off. Well, I ran out of yarn with about that many stitches to have to bind off. And so I had to tink back about a half round, so I knew I would have enough yarn to finish the bind off. So that's the cowl. I can sort of see my reflection in the computer over there. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. It's nice and warm, and it's nice and soft. So that is the Zombie Apocalypse cowl, and I think I'll keep it on for now because the Caritas shawl was getting a little warm. We're having a strange day where the sun is out. You can see from my complexion that I'm a very fair person, so I'm not used to a whole lot of sun. Yeah, so I'm going to leave this on. The next thing that it's off the needles, I meant to bring my sock blockers up here, but I left them downstairs. These are the stripy socks. This is also using the Out of Step Dye Works yarn. I had a very good week at work, and when I say very good week, it means that I actually had a lot of time to knit. We've had some low censuses lately, which means that there's not a lot of there's a lot of open beds. There's not a lot of patients. So I think was I like right about there when I last spoke to you? So I worked Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday this past week. So on Tuesday I had knit the rest of the first sock, plus about, I think, yay much of the second sock. Wednesday I was able to knit the rest of the cuff, the heel flap, the heel turn, and the gusset. I think I had to stop maybe at this blue stripe here with the gusset. And then on Thursday I was able to knit the rest of the sock. I didn't have my tapestry needle with me at work, so I ended up having to put the socks on the yarn and then come home and Kitchener the toe when I got home. So this is the stripy socks as I have them in my Ravelry project page. I knit this is an Out of Step Dye Works in the Cephalus colorway. I think that's how I pronounced it last week. I know I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but you know, whatever. This is the anatomy of knitting, not how to pronounce things properly. And I knit this using US ones. I haven't started any more socks for work, but I do have a skein of yarn in the little knitting bag that I bring with me to work. So hopefully there will be some new socks in progress next week. So that's those. And I so wanted to wear these yesterday to Madrona, but I held off because I wanted them to look nice and pretty for when I showed you. Because, you know, since it's now a video podcast, I have to wait to wear things now. They still have to look pretty for when you see them. So that's that one. And then the next thing off the needles, this is like sock week since the last podcast. So this is another pair of socks that I finished, and some hair apparently. Yes, darling, socks. I had started these, I think, before the new year, so maybe in like November-ish, I think I started these. This is stockinette socks. I used US 2s because this is Socks That Rock medium weight in the Chanticleer colorway. And I had these done to, I think, about here before I put them down for some strange reason. I think it might have been for our vacation to Florida I had put these down. I didn't bring these with me. And one of my other cats, whose name is Lola, I think she had taken the ball and, you know, had some fun with it around downstairs. So I had to rewind the ball. So I did that, and then because I had finished these, I didn't have anything on the needles at that point. So I decided to finish these up. So I was able to finish the rest of the sock and then knit the next sock over since the last time that I saw you on the podcast. Again, this is my generic, both of these 1x1 ribbing for about an inch or so, you know, cuff that's yay big, heel flap, and it's the slip stitch heel, basic heel turn, gussets. I don't know. I do a lot of stockinette socks because they're really easy and they're really quick and they show off the yarn, and I just like doing them. But how do you make them exciting over and over when you talk about them on podcasts? yeah, and again, should have put them on some sock blockers, but I didn't. And yeah, I'm trying to work through my Socks That Rock stash, so this is another pair of socks down. And so I've busted through in the last year, I think 3 or 4 pairs. The place where I'm busting through socks now, it's changed over the years. I used to wear out the ball of the foot, but now I'm busting through like the pointy bit of the toe, which is I don't know if that's because I'm maybe making them too short, but they get like so threadbare here, and then they finally just bust through. And I've got a lot of socks that I'm thinking about darning, but again, I have a large stash, so I haven't bothered to learn how to darn yet. I figured I could just replace them. So those are the, oh, wow, 3 things off the needles this week. So that's pretty exciting. So for spinning this week, I'm just kind of thinking about what I'd like to enter into the festivals this year. Because it's February, the first one that's coming up that has something that I can enter in is in June, and that's the Black Sheep Gathering. And I have my little collection of the ribbons that I've earned the past couple of years. Those were the Black Sheep Gathering ones, and then these are the Oregon Flock and Fiber Festival ones. And these are my super awesome ones that I'm so proud of that I got this past year. My champion ribbons that I got for my shawl and my shawl yarn. I'm really proud of these. So I'm just kind of thinking about what I want to do this year. This time last year I had a lot more spinning done. I haven't really been thinking about what I want to do up to this point. I have a few things on the spinning wheel, but I haven't really come up with anything that I'm really excited about yet. I wanted to show you a couple of things that I was working on. This is the cashmere that I've had on the and these are my the bobbins for my Hanson e-spinner. So this is the cashmere that I have. I've spun maybe a ½ ounce to an ounce here, and it's a little bit of a challenge. But the thing about this cashmere is that the color's been kind of, as I'm spinning, it's kind of been building up on my fingers, and I'm not super excited about that. I'm trying to do lace weight. Let's see if I can just kind of, that's what it'll look like. That's it doubled over. I was thinking of just doing a 2-ply lace weight. I have a total of 6 ounces of this, and I'm just not super excited about it, you know? I'm kind of in this meh stage. So that's the spinning, and then the fiber that I wanted to show you is here, and this is just half of it. This is the cashmere, and I know that this kind of tealy blue is difficult to set, so it's not super surprising that it's coming off on my hands, but it's just not fun to work with, you know? When you get a bunch of stuff on your hands, it doesn't excite you. But this is kind of a challenge to spin because, I'm going to see if I can, because the staple length is so short. It's like maybe about that long, and that's typical of cashmere. Cashmere is a short stapled fiber. So, you know, I bought this at the Oregon Flock and Fiber Festival thinking that I'd spin it for this year, and I've been working on it, but you know, it's just not grabbing me as exciting as I thought it would be. So that's that, and the bobbin for it. And then the other thing that I have that I've been working on, I purchased this, I think at Black Sheep. last year, so 2011. This is a ball of fiber that I picked up. It's dyed half breed with nylon glitter, and you can really see the nylon glitter right. Let me see if I can see a reflection. Yeah, there we go. Right there. It's got a whole, you can only see like the blue, green, and then the yellow, pink part, but it's a whole rainbow of colors. And again, I'm spinning this kind of as a lace weight, like so. And it's pretty, but it's not super smooth. I'm more excited about this this fiber than I am about the cashmere, so I think I might try and finish this up for Black Sheep this year, but we'll see. So those are the spinning things that I have, and I purchased a total of 8 ounces of this, and then I told you the cashmere was a total of 6 ounces. So those are the couple of spinning things that I have, and I'm going to spin those on the e-spinner, and then because I have so many things on the e-spinner right now, I'm going to have to apply them using the Matchless Bulky Flyer. So that's the plan, and I'm going to go through my stash and just kind of see all of the stuff that I have and what's exciting. When I was at Madrona yesterday, Crown Mountain Farms was there, and I know I have some cashmere and silk, I think, in the stash over that way. And I think I might try and spin that up, but we'll see. I don't exactly want to do the same thing I did last year. I didn't do cashmere and silk, I did merino and silk. I'd like to try to do something a little different, just because I don't want to, you know, be a one-hit wonder kind of thing. So let's see. I think that's it for the spinning. So for stash enhancement, again, no real stash enhancement. At Madrona I only got the enamel buttons. I'd like to show you a couple of fiber tools that I have found really indispensable the past week. So for the first one, I have to get my Dark and Stormy out again, and then I have to get, goodness honey, you gonna like fall on the ground? My cat, I swear. I wonder if you can hear that. So the thing I'm going to show you first is it's this, and then I'm going to flip it over. I don't know if you can quite see it through the plastic here, but this is what's called Try-It-On tubing. You may have heard a few podcasters talk about it. It's this clear plastic tubing, like so. You can see it's really flexible, and I got, it's longer than my wingspan here. And what you do, this, instead of getting a tapestry needle and some waste yarn, what you do is you take your needles, so like so, there's my needle, and then I take the end of the Try-It-On tubing, and then I push it on there. So you see I'm kind of pulling on the Try-It-On tubing, but it's not coming off. It will, but what you do is that you then take your knitting, and then this is a super easy and quick way to you put it on quote-unquote waste yarn, i.e. the tubing, and then you can try it on, and you can try it on to see the fit of the sweater, if the circumference is appropriate for the size that you're making. And then what I put this on yesterday when I was doing the button placement. So you just squoosh everything on like so. And I always find it with sweaters you have to work it. It's not super easy, like I think I've put it on shawls, and that's usually like a and it's all on. But I always I'm paranoid about separating the tubing from the needle, so I always kind of go a bit on the slow side, because once I did pull too hard and I did separate it from the needle. Oh, let me make all the mistakes so you don't have to. So you just keep kind of smooshing things on and getting it on the Try-It-On tubing. I know this seems like it's taking a while, but if you can imagine a tapestry needle, and I think I have, goodness, like 400 stitches on this collar. See, like, I usually use my nail to kind of push off the tubing. So then your needle is all free. And then when you have something long, I personally like to do a little knot in the end, just so I know that the end is secure, and I can. Right now, I'm not pushing all that hard, but it's not going to be any harder than you know, the normal use that I'm going to get when I have the Try-It-On tubing on. Those stitches aren't going to come off the tubing. And then I just kind of stretch things out. I'm going to knot the other end for the moment. And then you can see, now the tubing that I have, I got the longer tubing, which I think is the 2-yard tubing. It's not long enough to go around my entire circumference and length of the sweater. But you can see now, because my signature needle is only a 40-inch needle, it certainly isn't long enough for me to get my sweater on. And then you can see that my button is right about at my bust, the widest part of my bust. And then you can get an idea of the fit of everything. And you can see this isn't long enough, so it's a good thing that I put that little knot in, because look at all that tension that's on there. But you can get an idea of this fit of your sweater, and if you're not as long torsoed as me, your Try-It-On tubing will probably fit. So that's the Try-It-On tubing, and it's a very inexpensive product. I think the package that I got cost, it was less than $5, and I got 2 of them. So I think this is such a good investment for you to get for your knitting and trying on everything. So that's that. And then the process for getting, now I still have a ball, yep, okay. Wanted to make sure that that ball of yarn wasn't all wrapped around me. Alright, so, and then the process of getting everything back on your needles is, again, pretty easy. I just put out the knot, take my needle, and then just ever so delicately jam it on the needle. And when I purchased the Try-It-On tubing, I believe there was just one size, but now there's more than one size for tubing. It'll fit, I think, up to a 7 or an 8, the smaller size, and then the larger size fits the larger needles. And so I just kind of squoosh everything back down, and then, you know, put it back on the needle. I'm not going to make you sit around and watch me do that. I will do that off camera. So that's Try-It-On tubing, and then the website is www.machineknitting2dye4.com. So that's that. And then the second thing that I have found really indispensable the past week is my iPad. There we go. I don't want to get a glare. Let's see. Here we go. Oh, I was cooking. I'm doing Weight Watchers, and I have a recipe on there. So basically, an iPad is like a giant iPhone, but it does so much more than just be, you know, I've played podcasts on it. I've used it while I was cooking. I've read books on it. I've used it for my knitting projects, and it's just, I have the iPad 2. If you're interested in getting an iPad, you might want to hold off for now because I know that they're coming out with an iPad 3, I think next month. So you might want to wait for the announcement. Oop, there's like no good way to hold on to this. I like to talk with my hands apparently. Here we go. Ta-da! So you might want to wait for the announcement for the next iPad. Again, like my phone, I have a knitting folder on here. Let me see all the things. The first thing that I think is a super awesome use for the iPad is searching on Ravelry. So say in the middle of the night, because say you can't sleep because you slept all day and your husband likes for you to go to bed with him, you can do some searching for the next sweater that you want to knit. And it's the main Ravelry website. You know, you've got all the tabs. You can go to the forums. You can do a search. It's just a really easy way, instead of using your laptop, because not all of us have laptops, and the price of an iPad is a lot more affordable than a laptop. I think mine was, oh goodness, I think my iPad was, it's the 32 gig. What? You like iPads too? I swear my cat, she's very chatty today. iPads. Oh, do you want to come and say hello? She wants to come and say hello. Where are you? Hi. There we go. So this is Miss Scout. This is the one who's been co-starring this week. She's been in the window over there. This is a cat I've had, I think it'll be 6 or 7 years this summer, and she's a good kitty. So that's Scout. You gonna stay on my lap? Yeah? Okay. So the iPad, looking on Ravelry. The next thing is the iBooks application. If you don't have a ton of PDFs, you can load all of your PDFs on here depending on the storage that you have on your iPad. So this is the iBooks part of the application. I have this on the library. These are all the books that I've purchased. And then, honey, you are so cute. Up top there's a section for the store, so you can search for more books. I believe Stephanie Pearl McPhee has a couple of books in the iBook store. Next is the collections. So I currently right now have it clicked onto the book section, but then I'm going to click it onto the PDFs. And I have a few PDFs on here. I have, I took this with me when I went to somewhere. And I wanted to make sure that I had some sweaters loaded on here, at least the sweaters that I was knitting. So I have a couple. I have the elephant sweater, which is a baby sweater pattern, and then there's the twist. Ooh, I don't want to show you the. There's the twist cardigan on there, so you can see it's you just flick to get through to the different pages. It's full color. You can zoom, like so. The user interface for iPads are amazing. So that's the iBooks part of the iPad. If you have a limited amount of storage, an app that you can download is called the Dropbox app. And basically what it is, it's like a hard drive in the air, under. Oh, honey, you got to be careful. And you can store your PDF patterns in that hard drive in the sky. And then I have the Dropbox application on my phone as well. So mine is the Wi-Fi only iPad. You can get an iPad with 3G as well, so you can have internet access anywhere as long as you have a 3G signal. So the Dropbox application, because I have a lot of PDFs and I don't want to keep them on my phone because I don't have enough room on my phone, because honey, your tail is so cute. I have a lot of PDFs. There's not a lot of storage because I like to listen to podcasts and video podcasts, so I don't have a ton of storage left over on my products here. So I keep all of my PDFs in Dropbox, and I have a folder on my computer set up. So when I purchase a PDF on Ravelry, I have it all saved on Ravelry. I download a copy to my computer, and then I take that downloaded copy and I move it to that Dropbox folder. And that Dropbox folder is hooked up with the Dropbox service, and when it detects a new file in that folder, it will automatically upload to my Dropbox hard drive in the sky. So I have a list. So I've pulled up, these are all the PDFs that I have, and it's arranged alphabetically. So as long as you know the name of the pattern that you want to find, you can pull it up. And then I, yesterday, was searching at Madrona for the for some yarn. Oh, goodness, honey. Some yarn for the Harmonia's ring sweater. This is a Sylvia Harding pattern, and so I had this pulled up on my Dropbox. So I think this is an ingenious app. I know some people use Evernote. I haven't used Evernote yet, so I don't know how useful it is compared to Dropbox, or how better or worse it is compared to Dropbox. Some other applications that I have that are really useful on the iPad, the Button Wizard is on here, and then I have a stitch counter application, and it's like giant stitch counter. This is the same stitch counter that you can get that's on the phone. And then I have the iSpin toolkit, and a lot of applications are currently only written for the iPhone. So when you have it on your iPad, it's smaller. But what you can do, there's a little button at the bottom in the corner that says 2x, and then that increases that size. And then if you wanted to get it back to its original size, you just hit that same button again, and it gets smaller. Let's see, the battery life for an iPad is nice and long. I think I charged this last week, and I'm only down to 57%. I'm trying to think what other really cool things that you can use. If you watch podcasts, I was watching the Knitting in Circles podcast earlier. You can either watch it this way, portrait or landscape. I'm trying to think of other really good uses. Yeah, there's just a bunch of apps. I mean, it depends on what you use your computer mainly for. If you surf the web, it's a really great web surfing product. If you listen to music and all sorts of things, it's just a really useful product. And so the iPad, I would totally recommend it if you're really interested in it. But again, I've heard that Apple is going to be announcing the next version next month, so you might want to hold off and see what kind of cool things they're going to do with the next version, and then make your decision of if you want one. I would recommend it, personally. I love mine. So those are the two things for stash enhancement. So we've come to the end of the episode. There's a few things that I wanted to, few ends I wanted to tie up. I forgot a few things about the iPad that I wanted to say. With traveling, it is so much better than traveling with a laptop or any other sort of computer. It does pretty much everything that a laptop can do, plus you can buy this little doohickey that you plug into the bottom, and then you can take your card from your camera and put it in the little doohickey and download all of your pictures. And you can email people in your family all your pictures, and it's just a really useful thing. And you don't have to take it out of your hand luggage when you go through security. Yes! I always hate that about the laptops. So one thing that I got an email, I think it was today. This is from Jessica, and she hosts the Knitting Brooklyn podcast. So she wrote me and wanted me to talk about something. So I'm going to read her message. Dear Erin, I'm writing to ask you if you could help spread the word about a knit-along I'll be starting on March 1st. Knitting Brooklyn is teaming up with the Remembering Remy group creator, Tracy, to run a preemie hat knit-along for 95 days from March 1st to... Oh, hello, honey. Hello, Ari. To June 3rd in memory of Remy. This special little girl was born last year prematurely at 28 weeks. She was physically with her parents for 95 days at New York University's NICU before passing away. This February 23rd, would have been her first birthday. All preemie hats sent to us will be donated to the NICU that cared for Remy. You can read more about Remy and her family at www.ourlittleremy.com. There will be prizes each month for those posting pictures of finished hats. At the end of the knit-along, there will be a grand prize, which is to be announced, and a prize for the person who contributes the most hats. For more information, please check out the Knitting Brooklyn group on Ravelry or the show notes blog at knittingbrooklyn.blogspot.com. And then she thanked me for any support that I can offer. And then the founder of Remembering Remy, she's on Ravelry, and her username is TB. Ow, honey, McCarthy. Why do you have to claw me? So if you have any questions, you can email Jessica, who is JPELED on Ravelry, and then TBMCCARTHY for Tracy, who's the founder of the Remembering Remy. So I'd like to thank her for sending me that message, and I wanted to give her any support that I could, because that's a really important project. So I'm going to wrap up the episode here. There's a couple of minutes of footage that I shot at Madrona yesterday. This episode's turning out to be kind of long, so I'll just wrap it up and say a few things about Madrona. This is the first time I've ever been on a Saturday. It was really, really busy, so a lot of the footage that I took didn't turn out, but I'll put in some footage that did. I didn't take any classes. There were some great teachers, and people were really lucky to get classes with those people. But every time, it seems to be true for a lot of these conventions, is that when they post their opportunities for registration, it's always when I'm sleeping for work. So, yeah, so I didn't get to sign up for any classes, but it sounded like there were some really awesome ones there. I'd recommend to go to Madrona. There's a lot of things you can do, classes, banquets, all sorts of exciting events, and so yeah, you'll see that footage at the end here, and I'm not going to be recording next week. The reason I recorded this week is that starting tomorrow I'm going to be working a whole bunch. I'll be doing 3 days on, 2 days off, 3 days on, which is a really tough schedule, and I'm doing that because my birthday is on March 1st, and my husband and I are going to Disneyland, and I'm really excited about that. So there won't be another podcast until March. So I hope you all enjoy the podcast, and please let me know if you have any more comments or suggestions, anything to improve the podcast. I'm totally open to constructive criticism. I know somebody in the thread on Ravelry was really nervous about saying, giving me some constructive criticism, but I totally and completely welcome it, because I want this podcast to be the best it can be, to be something that you all enjoy watching and listening to. So please feel free to send me a line, and you'll see all the contact information at the end of the podcast. So I'm going to say goodbye, and I hope you all have a great week or a couple of weeks, and I'll see you again in March. Bye!